どうもお疲れ様です。ひろき先生です。Welcome back to my channel. What is your impression of Japanese people? Hardworking, polite, or quiet? I'm sure there are many different impressions, but of course, it all depends on the person. But there is a word, average. So, what kind of people are Japanese on an average? Today, I have collected data summarizing the average of Japanese people, and I would like to present them in the categories you see. Basic information, cultural information, money information, and health information. I've compiled a variety of average of Japanese people, from average height and weight, the amount of money they spend on gambling. So, let's get started. Let's start with the biodata. The average age in Japan today is said to be 48.6 years old for both men and women combined. The current situation is that there are slightly more elderly people than younger generations. Next, let's look at the average height and the weight of men and women by age. The data is running down to the nearest one decimal place. The results are 67.6 inches for men aged 26 to 29 and 67.5 inches for men aged 30 to 39. Women aged 26 to 29 are 62.1 inches. And the women aged 30 to 39 are 62.2 inches. The weight is 145.5 pounds for men aged 36 to 39 and 156.6 pounds for those aged 30 to 39. Women in aged 36 to 39 are 199 pounds and women aged 30 to 39 117.7 pounds. Compared to a few decades ago, each of these figures has increased compared to the past due to in part of the westernization of diet and lifestyle. So, what about the face? What kind of face do you think when you hear the word Japanese people? This image is said to be a combination of several Japanese faces overlaid on top of each other. They do not really exist, but I have certainly seen such a person before. And what about body shape? This CG image compares the average male body size in the various countries. And this is for women. I have the impression that many women are also small in size. Now, let me introduce money situation that I may be interested in. The rate is calculated at 135 yen to the dollar as of August 8, 2022. The median annual income in Japan is said to be $29,517 in order of age and gender. It looks like this. Average annual income for men in their 30s is $31,144. Women in their early 30s earn $21,009. Whether it is high or low is a matter for each person to decide, but these are just averages. And the average saving looks like this. The data shows that the number of people in their 60s is $96,541. They are saving quite a lot. It is said that Japanese people like to save money. Okay, so let me talk a little more about money. Please take a look at this chart. Rent, entertainment, utilities, clothes, hobbies, and food. What do Japanese people spend their money on? In this report, using a single 34 years old man and woman as a model case, I have summarized how much money each of them depends on what kind of things. The amount of money made depending on where they live and their income, but it seems to be about the same.
Food costs are roughly $221 to $295, 3万円 to 4万円. Utilities $51 to $59, 7,000円 to 8,000円. And entertainment and beauty costs $221 to $295, 3万円 to 4万円. Same as food cost. The total was $875, 11万8,317円 for men, and $923, 12万4,796円 for women. They're a little more expensive than men because of beauty costs.
So, what about gambling rates and average spending? The survey was conducted on 2,000 men and women aged 20 and older nationwide. When asked if they had gambled at least once in the past year, 37.2% said they had, while 21% they said had gambled in the past. For a total of 58.2% those who had gambled, and 41.6% said they had never gambled at all before. Those 58.2% who answered that they had gambled were asked what kind of gambling they have done. The most common was lottery at 75.1%, followed by pachinko at 39.7%, and then horse racing at 15.7%. When asked about the amount of money spent per time, the most common answer was $22, less than 3,000 yen by gender. Now, let's look at the cultural averages. Japan has finally lifted its borders and it's attracted many tourists from abroad. But what about the situation of Japanese people traveling abroad? According to a survey by a major Japanese travel agency, the average number of overseas trips made by Japanese people in their lifetime is said to be about 1 to 5 times. Some of them even go their entire lives without ever traveling abroad. I cannot believe it because I want to live abroad and travel abroad a lot. As for how long they stay, about 60% stay 5 days or less, about 30% stay 10 days or less, and about 5% stays 15 days or less. This means that about 90% of us are taking short trips of 5 to 10 days or less. Conversely, about 10% of the rest are taking long-term trips. I'm a long-term traveler, so 5 days or less seems a little short to me, but I guess a compact trip can be fun too. How long do you want to stay in Japan? Now, what are the most popular overseas travel destinations among Japanese people? According to the JTB's overseas travel reservations, the most popular destinations are Hawaii in first place, Guam in second, Korea in third, Taiwan in fourth, and Singapore in fifth. Japanese people like Hawaii so much that they say Hawaii is the most popular overseas travel destination, and many people want to visit tourist destinations surrounded by the warm ocean. Other popular destinations include countries in Southeast Asia that are close to Japan. I, for one, am ready for an overseas trip soon. Now, on the next topic, something a little different. Average study time. Result of the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communication 2016 Basic Survey of Social Life. More than 95% of working adults answered 0 for study time. The average study time is calculated to be dramatically short because so many respondents answered 0 time for studying. Look at the data only for working adults who are studying. The average study time is 160 minutes. So, everyone is studying quite a bit. Reading time when those who answered that they read books were asked about their average daily reading time. we found that both men and women in their 20s to 40s read an average about 30 minutes a day. The longest reading time was spent by men in their 20s at 39 minutes. Among these readers, many seem to prefer fiction such as novels, and the self-development and the business books were next most popular, followed by comic books. Oh, speaking of reading, what are your hobbies? Here, I would like to introduce a list of hobbies that Japanese people prefer, broken down by gender. A company conducted the same survey in 2014 and 2021. As for men, their hobby used to be sports, but it seems that many of them now prefer video games as their hobbies. Hobbies that can be done at home are becoming more popular as people spend more time at home since COVID. Many women still prefer reading as a hobby, and hobbies that can be completed indoors, such as listening to music and cooking, have been popular for a long time. Do you like Japanese food? Some of the viewers of this video may have partners who are Japanese. If you cook your partner's favorite food, you might be pleased. Now, the ranking of Japanese men's favorite foods are: number 1, curry rice, ramen, hamburger steak, yakiniku, and sushi. These are just a few of the many dishes that comes in the mind when we think of Japanese food. As usual, I like them too. For men are number 1, pasta, pancakes, avocado, croquette, bread. I get the impression that there are lots of Western foods here. Avocados are a dish or an ingredient, but they have certainly become very popular in recent years, and I have many opportunities to eat them. Finally, let's take a look at the health averages. Are you getting a good night's sleep? The average sleeping time for Japanese is 7 hours and 20 minutes for men and 7 hours and 6 minutes for women. Of course, it all depends on the person, but many people sleep less than 8 hours. I need to sleep more than 8 hours, so I wish everyone would sleep more. Time to go to gym. A survey of men and women in their 20s to 60s living in Japan revealed that the combined use rate of often and sometimes was 12% overall, 11% for men and 14% for women, with the women's use rate seemingly higher. By age and genders, the usage rates were relatively high for women in their 60s, 21%, men in their 20s, 19%, and women in their 30s, 15%. I've been thinking about going to gym every time, but in the end, I haven't been able to go yet. Sake is one of the most popular Japanese alcoholic beverages. Of course, I love sake too, but how much do Japanese people drink on an average? In Japan, the average annual alcohol consumption per capita is 7.2 liters, and among habitual drinkers, men consume an average of 13.7 liters, 2.1 cans beer a day, and women 6.7 liters, 1 can of beer a day. Data shows that that is the case. Whether it is more or less depends on the person, but it is just an average. And be careful not to drink too much. Finally, let's look at the smoking rates. The percentage of a current habitual smoker is 17.8%, with 29% of men and 8.1% of women by gender. The smoking rate among adult males continues to decline, but is still high compared to other countries, with an estimated 14 million people smoking. The average smoking rate among adult women is 8.7%. Among current habitual smokers, 77% of the men and 84.9% of women use paper cigarettes, and 30.6% of men and 23.6% of women use e-cigarettes. Seems smoking rates are much lower than they used to be. if you smoke, you better mind your smoking manners. Today, I put together a list of the average of the Japanese. I hope this will be some help to anyone interested in Japan or Japanese people for that matter. We would like to create videos on this channel based on your opinions. If you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments section. Okay, see you guys in the next video and see you soon.